Okay, for chapter 2, inequalities and absolute values, do you remember what do you have for this chapter? Okay, for you to remember, please do summary notes on what you did learn. Alright, for example, for chapter 2, you have inequalities and absolute. Alright, for inequalities, it is divided into two parts, which is linear, means x, and quadratic means x power of 2. Okay, for linear, if you have one symbol, you can just use the direct calculation here. And we have more than one symbols, means you have two symbols, you need to separate it into two parts, alright? And use the intersection symbol or and here, alright? What you can do is because you separate them at the beginning, at the end you must draw a number line and shade the intersection between them. Alright, next we move to quadratic. Quadratic, you have three ways of solving your answers. Alright, then it is also divided into one symbol and more than one symbol. For one symbol you can just calculate, but because it is quadratic, you need to draw the graph quadratic and write down the answer depending on our graph. Alright, but if you have more than one symbol, for example, we will usually have two symbols. Okay, you divide them into two parts with n as our symbol. Okay, so for the left hand side, draw its quadratic and find the solution. For right hand side, draw its quadratic and find its solution. And of course, you have to combine them back as a number line, and we shade the intersection. That's why we use and here. Alright, so that's mean for inequalities, you will only use and as your symbol, so we will only shade at the intersection. Alright, so next we move with our absolute. We have equation and inequalities. So for equation, absolute equation, you still have to divide them into two. One first is positive, the second one you have a negative on your left hand side. Alright, and the symbol you are using is or. Okay, or. Why we are using or? Because at the end we will take all the answers there. Okay, except for question, if you have x inside modulus and outside the modulus, you have to check the value of x. Okay, that is for absolute equation. The last part is for absolute inequalities. Alright, so you have absolute equation with involving this one of the four symbols. Alright, so for this one, it is divided into two, which is your modulus x is less or equal. You have to use n as our in between. Alright, so when you use n, you will shade the intersection. When you separate, of course, again, you have to combine them and shade. But for modulus x greater or equal, we have to use union when we separate them, or, so then you combine them on the number line and you have to shade union or. Alright, so that is what you learn from chapter 2. Okay, let's see the question. What is the type of this question? Do you have x power of 2? No, so that means it is linear. So this is inequalities. So the question is linear inequalities. Then you have more than one symbol. Sorry, it's typo here. More than one symbol. Alright, so you have to separate them using n in between. Alright guys, this is compulsory for you to write down with this symbol. Compulsory. I repeat, compulsory. Alright, so you calculate. Alright, this is not the answer yet because the question comes in one question. So, but you have to separate answer. So we need to combine them on the number line, use all the information we have, and we have to shade the intersection. Alright, that is the use of this. So we shade intersection, that's here we come our answer. Alright, if the question didn't ask either it must be in solution set or interval form, you can write down then in either one of the form. Alright, so highlight here, don't draw the smile graph. Why? Because it is linear, not quadratic. Alert with inequality symbols. Alright, for single it will be empty circle, so round bracket. For double it will be then circle, and you will use square bracket. So easy, yeah? So let's identify what is our equation. You have x squared. So here is quadratic inequalities. Okay. So one more than once, you have two symbols. So separate to the left, separate to the right, without changing anything. You don't have to reverse. You don't have negative because it is not absolute. Okay. So you calculate. So here you have one quadratic. Here you have another quadratic. So you have to draw its own smart graph. Okay. And you just shade here less mean inside, greater mean outside. So your solution for each element is here. Okay, this is not the final answer yet, but you have to write this form. Okay, you got marks here. So next you need to combine that on a number line, draw everything. So how we going to shade? Using our and here. So just shade the intersection. Alright. Okay, what's our highlight here? Don't just separate without involving reverse the symbol and put the negative. Alright, because it is not absolute. Number 2, let's say you did same as the other side, but if you do if this is your final answer, it is wrong. Okay, because you don't combine it yet. Alright, so we need to combine them to a number line, and we shade as the intersection. Okay, what's our type of equation? We have absolute equation. Okay, you have x inside modulus and x outside. You have 2 in 1. Alright, so the first thing is for us to separate them. Modulus you will always need to separate because you have one positive, another one is negative. Okay, why do we need to change the symbol? No, because it is equation. Reverse the symbol is only involved for absolute inequalities, not equation. Alright, so you calculate, you get 2 value. Alright, alert, if you have a modulus equal to, you have x inside or outside, you must check. Okay, for checking, just substitute the value to the original equation. Alright, to the left hand side, right hand side. So here we can see that our only answer is x equal to 2. Alright, let's look at what's the highlight here. What you shouldn't do is accepting all the answer. Okay, you can't just accept both answers because we have x inside, x outside. You have 2 in 1 condition. For 2 in 1 condition, you need to check. Okay, this is our favorite question to ask you, whether you remember to check or not. Okay, number 2, you did s beside and checking s equal to 3. Let's see here. Left hand side, modulus -1 is right. Modulus -1 means equal to 1. For right hand side, you calculate and you get -1. And suddenly you put modulus to just make it equal. Guys, this is wrong. Okay, you can't put modulus. Use modulus when there is given modulus. Okay, don't just put it. It is given. You can use it. Alright. Next question. What is our type of equation? We have absolute equation. Okay, so you check your x. For absolute equation, you have to check that you have 2 in 1 condition. X inside, x outside. No, so you don't need to check. Okay, for this one, for modulus, for all terms inside the modulus, you will use the properties. Okay, let's recall that you have modulus A. You have 2 properties. The first one is you divide that into 2, positive and negative. Alright. Another properties is modulus A is equal to sec A square. So here modulus will change into sec square. Sec square on both sides. So what we do is change by using the properties, change the pattern. And of course, when we have set, we will use another square for us to cancel of both them. Alright, to cancel the set on both sides. You can just use this square. It's wrong. If you cancel on this, that means that you change the equation. Okay, so here you need to add another square on both sides, and then we cancel it, the root with the new square, the root with the new square, and then you get this form. Okay, so here is easy, right? Just expand, factor, and write down your answer. Okay, for absolute equation, we will just accepting all the answer by writing like this. in form of solution set without symbol of inequalities in between. Just use the comma. Alright, don't be confused. We just change the pattern and square both sides, and you don't have to use the symbol or here. Alright, because everything lies inside the modulus. Alright, and then don't forget to write the final answers properly. Alright, for this one we have our type of question is absolute inequalities. Alright, absolute inequalities. And even you have modulus, you have x inside, x outside. Do we need to check? No, because it is absolute inequalities here. If it is equation, you need to check. Okay, the first thing is you have to identify what is our symbol for us to use in between. It is modulus x greater, so use union or. Alright, so it's separate to the left, separate to the right. Remember here, reverse the sign because you put the negative here. Alright, so it is new union. Okay, you calculate. This is not the answer yet. It is inequalities, so find its way. Alright, so we find its way by draw the number line and shade all, okay, as the union. So your shaded must depend on our unions. That's why our answer is from negative infinity to 10. Okay, what you shouldn't do here, you calculate it on the left. Okay, for example, you can see here 10 greater than x. You want to change the position of x. If you want to change the position of x, you have to change the symbol as well. So it is totally wrong here. So here, we know that because it is inequalities, absolute inequalities, this side will be negative. For you to put negative here, that means your symbol must be reversed. Alright, and please understand the inequality symbol. Please reverse the inequality symbol as you did multiply on negative, divide with negative, as we bring negative to the right hand side. So here your answer is wrong. Okay, if you can see here, that means that you just take the answer. It's totally wrong. Even the value is also wrong. Alright, indeed the value is also wrong. So for inequalities final answer, you must separate the equation, then please combine them using the number line. Okay, so now we look at our question B. Negative 2 modulus x plus 1 greater than 3x minus 10. Okay, it's different from question A. If you can see, for question A, we have a number 2 in front of modulus x. Okay, positive 2. So for positive 2, you can just do your calculation. Okay, you can look at question A. So now for question B, we have something is not beautiful here, which is negative right in front of modulus. So how we going to solve our question? Alright, again, this is the question of modulus inequalities. Negative in front of absolute is a problem. Okay, later we see what is the problem. Okay, so we need to clear the negative first. Okay, for you to clear the negative, that means we have to change the equation into divide. So for divide negative 2 means we need to change the symbol. Okay, so here this is our new equation. Alright, we have to change the equation. So from here, baru you decide this one. Okay, so it is actually modulus x less. So we need to use intersect. We can't use this one because it's negative, right? So you can separate them into two. One is the original, the second one is put the negative, so you reverse the sign and you calculate everything. Okay, so here we have x less than 8/5, x less 12. So intersect, that means it is intersect here only. So the answer is from negative infinity to 8/5. Alright, so next look at what you shouldn't do. Okay, you have the equation and you just directly use, as you can see here, you put on the left and you put on the right, and by reverse the negative, or sorry, reverse the sign here. Okay, this is the usual thing we did, right? So here you calculate, here you calculate. So here we are, so we get x less 12, x less 8/5. So our, okay, because you decide to use this one, so you use union. Okay, because it's modulus x greater. Okay, you use union, that means we have integers at all of them. But our answer is wrong. Okay, because we have a negative in front of modulus x. So negative in front of modulus, it is not valid. So you need to change. Alright, to change by making it positive first. Okay, this one. If it is positive constant in front of modulus s, and it is okay. But if it is negative, you have to change it first, and our symbol that we need to use is intersect, not union. So that is the big difference between them. Okay, if you use the wrong intersect or union, that's when we will make the wrong shaded. Alright, so here, remember. Okay. Okay, let's look at next question. Alright, so we have modulus, that means absolute. What this is equation, absolute equation. Okay, absolute, of course, you have to divide into two, positive and negative, but we didn't reverse our sign because it is equation. Alright, if it is inequalities, you reverse the sign here, but here no need because it is equation. So we calculate on the left, we get the two value, and we calculate on the right. When you want to calculate this, you will get the decimal value. Okay, decimal value is not acceptable here because you have to write down in whole numbers. Okay, if you don't have the whole numbers, that's when you need to use the formula to get the value. Okay, what is other formula that we have? X equal to negative b plus minus square root b square minus 4ac over 2a. It's easy, right? We learned during school here. So you apply everything. Write down, list down first what is a, what is b, what is c. This is so simple. Okay? When you write down first and you can check and then you are writing the same, you are substituting the right things or not. Okay? So you put the value here. Okay, 4 plus minus set 8 over 2. You please see inside the set. Inside set we have 4 multiplied by 2. Alright, so here what can we simplify? We know that set 4 is equal to 2. Set 2 we have to leave it there. So here you have 3 compartments. Alright, and it has the same thing for the 3 compartment there. So our final answer is 2 plus minus set 2. And lastly, list down everything in terms of solution set. Alright, put according to the value. Okay, what you shouldn't do here, if you can't factorize directly, we use the formula. Alright, number 2, for x, you can't just cancel 2 of them. Alright, what we need to do, you have to have all the elements here, and to cancel, make sure each element has the same thing. And lastly, with anything inside set so that we can simplify. If you can, alright, you have to see either inside set has anything related to the bottom so that we can cancel with each other. Alright, what I want to highlight here is actually this part, set 8. Okay, make sure you don't leave it as set 8. It's wrong because you can change it into set 2. Right, this is set simplified set. Okay, next our question is a modulus. It means absolute equation. Okay, again absolute, we have positive, we have negative. Okay, absolute equation, we don't need to do anything. It is, you just use the union. Okay, you get the value and you get the value 4. So here guys, okay, you have x inside, x outside, remember, so that's when you have to check. Okay, so our final answer is only 3. As you can see here, when we get 4, you get 2, and negative 2 is not the same, so we can't accept. Alright, if you don't check, you will simply take the wrong answer. Okay, we look at another absolute equation here. So we have positive 2, we have negative 2, so x squared equal to 9. Okay, from square, you change to set, you have to put plus minus. That's why you got 2 values here. So that's do we need to check all these 4 answers? No, you don't have x outside. Here you have x outside, x inside. For you to check, you have to have both. Okay, the two conditions. Don't forget anything involve absolute either. Absolute equation. Okay, for absolute equation, you have to use union. Alright, so we put a negative on the left hand side. For absolute inequalities is depends on our set, our modulus x. Okay, if our modulus x is greater, that's when you need to use union. Okay, alright, so just reverse the symbol on the left hand side and put the negative. For modulus x less than, that means you have to separate them into two. The left hand side again, same. You reverse the symbol and put negative, and you need to use intercept. Okay. So here, net from square, you change the set, you have to use plus minus, and check if x has inside and x outside. Okay, so here is the question of absolute inequalities, right? Absolute inequalities, which involve negative and reverse symbol on the right hand side. Oh, sorry. From the slide before, I said as left hand side, here it's actually the right hand side. Okay, so that's the correction for that. So here you change to original and your right hand side, reverse the symbol and put negative here. Okay. As you can see here, there is no problem in front of modulus x. So it is modulus x greater, that means you have to use union. So you do the solutions. Alright, so you get x less than 5/3. So here you calculate x less 3/5. So you combine two of them, you use union, that means our answer is x less than 5/3. Okay, so be careful with the calculation. If you make wrong calculation here, it will make you shade it wrong. Okay, shade it wrong and your answer will be wrong. So be careful. Alright. Okay, don't forget to reverse the sign and put negative on left hand side. Why did I put left hand side? It's actually right hand side here. Right hand side. Sorry now. So here is right hand side. Don't be confused. Reverse the sign and put negative on this side. Don't just write your answer as less than 1 as less than 0.5. Okay guys, for inequalities, you can just take it from the here. You can just take it from here. Alright? Because we separate it. When you separate it, alright, you need to combine it. That's it. Okay, and shade it depends on our union or intercept. Don't write your answer as okay. Why? Kenapa kita tak boleh buat dalam this? Because our question are solution set. Alright, it's simple. You must follow what the hint of the question. Okay, take note the hint. Bulatkan sesuatu. What's the question one? That's the way we are doing. Okay, lastly, the last question for me to take note about our chapter 2. You have modulus x less than x. So it is absolute inequalities. Okay, what you can see here, you have x inside, x outside. Okay, do you have to check? No, because it is not equation. It is inequalities. Only absolute equation you have to check, so you don't need to check. And do you have any problems in front of modulus x? No. So the first one you just copy as the same as the equation. The second one, reverse the sign and put negative bracket. Okay, here please be careful. Don't just put negative without bracket because it will affect your answer. Because negative here means for the in front terms and the last term. Okay. So what is our symbol here? Okay, remember guys, left, middle, on the right, give you total 1 mark here. Okay, if you leave it here, if you don't do this, you will get 0 here. Okay, so remember, because you separate it from the same question, so you have to, what do we say? You have to make it complete. Because we want to separate it, to make it just, we want to make it as come from the same thing. Okay, that's why you have the original one. You have to put right here, it is n because it's less, and reverse the sign, put the negative bracket. And then you calculate carefully. Alright, arrange them, x on one side, number on one side. Okay, lastly put the x on the left. You get this one as like greater than 16. So next arrange x, arrange number. So here you get x greater than -7. So it is an arrow to the right and arrow to the right. So our shade is intersection. Intersection lies here. That means our final answer is x greater than 16. Again, the question asks in solution set. Right? If you write interval form, you will not get marks. Alright? Don't forget to check what type of question and check if it is modulus x greater or less, so we can decide our symbol or n. Combine them on a number line. Okay, you have to remember this. My hint is if you separate it on at the beginning, you have to combine them at the end. Alright. Next, we shape them depends on our n. Okay, if you use and, that's mean it should intersect with each other. If you use all involving, it should all involving with each other. Alright, so that's all for chapter 2. Alright, chapter 2 is a very easy if you can differentiate. Alright, then what? If you can't, it will be a problem. So please, alright, use wisely my materials and find small to a lot of exercise and just keep working. Alright, so thank you.